I can't see a thing, Jim.
Well, hold on.
I swear, it's always some damn thing. Wait, got it. Ah, hell, this thing ain't gonna hold.
Shut up.
Damn, you're ugly.
You girls strapped in nice and tight now. Tighter than your mama leg. That's a good one, man. Locked in and cruising.
What you got for me out there, Joey Ray?
We got Terran for sure. I don't know about the rest. We got a big old buttload of floating debris out here. Woo-wee! We hit pay dirt this time for sure.
Explain to me, how are we gonna get all this home?
I'm detached and moving toward the derelict spacecraft.
Damn it, Jim. Video's out again.
Well, quit picking at it.
I ain't picking at it, damn it. I'm out here with a hitch in my giddy up and here and there snapping your jacks. I don't see a rubber siempre vamos a ir dejándome metido en el paso de que me está oyendo. Hey, you listening to me? Hold on, I got visual. It's a damn boat, you fell back. I'm behind the ship, I'm behind you, Jim.
Hello and welcome to StarCraft Remastered. So I've been looking forward to doing a let's play of this one pretty much since it was released. We are going to start with the Terran Campaign on the vanilla game, and so for those of you who've never played this before, the StarCraft release, and there was an expansion pack and it gave you the option to flip between the two campaigns. So original, let's start with a new help if I could spell. I've taken my old save games and just sort of put them into a separate folder because I kind of want to try and start this completely from fresh to give you the idea of what it would look like if you're playing this game for the first time. So you're first presented with this main menu screen, which they have updated for the remastered edition, which is very nice. Gives you a little bit of sort of flavour about each of the species or races that you play as. So you've got the Terrans, Space Marines, kind of, but a little more rough and ready. People always cite 40k as an inspiration, to a point where people have even said, oh, StarCraft or Warcraft was originally going to be a Warhammer game and then Blizzard lost the license, and I read it in a PC magazine 20 years ago. It's definitely true. Whether that is or not, I've never actually seen any evidence for it, but they've got the whole power armor thing going on, but they're a lot more like the Colonial Marines from Aliens, like to a point where the dropship literally quotes the dropship from Alien, or Aliens I should say. Very rough and ready, kind of Southern American rednecks in space, to the point where you'll come across the sort of primary antagonist of the Terran Campaign are called the Confederates, which I suppose has become somewhat timely with recent events. Then we've got the Zerg Campaign, which is directly, it follows on. They are your kind of, if you want to go with the kind of the somewhat simplistic criticism, they're the Tyranids, or they're what the Tyranids were supposed to be. Very similar to Alien. I always thought the kind of the body structure here and the head plate was kind of vaguely reminiscent of the Aliens. You'll either see it and agree with me or think I'm talking out my backside, but that's a Hydralisk. which is not actually the first Zerg unit you get, but it is kind of the iconic Zerg unit. And then you've got the Protoss, who are kind of mystic, psionic warriors, very, very ludicrously high-tech technology, kind of follow that kind of not quite like elder species, not like ancient precursor. You do find out that the Zerg and Protoss have a link to each other through one of these precursor species. High advanced technology, high concept, high psionic ability, to a point where that guy, as you can see, his blades he's projecting are actually psionic blades. So we'll start with the Terran Campaign. That's our initial introduction to the StarCraft universe, and it kind of makes sense to go in through a human's point of view. So just before we go in, a little bit of backstory kind of stuff you'd only see in the rule book and the manual. Way back when games required you to read the manual first, in theory. A load of colonists were basically exiled in what was basically a science experiment on big giant supercarriers that crashed in what has become called the Koprulu sector, which is where we start our campaign, one of various Terran colonies within this Koprulu sector, which, long story short, has become overruled by this, or I think overruled is the right word, overruled, dominated by this Terran Confederacy, who we will meet very quickly. Terran Campaign, Rebel Yell. In the decades since the end of the Guild Wars, the oppressive Terran Confederacy has stood unchallenged in its supremacy over colonised space. All of that changed 4 days ago when a large alien fleet emerged from warp space and laid waste to the unsuspecting Confederate colony of Chowsara. The Confederacy, fearing that the alien fleet's next target would be the colony of Marsara, has sent you to intervene. Acting as magistrate, you are to safeguard the colonists and keep their state of panic from escalating any further. What we are going to get first is just sort of a little introductory mission. It's called Boot Camp. I'll quickly play through that just because it introduces some core mechanics that it'll give me a chance to talk about those. So here we go.
Welcome to Marsara, Magistrate. The equipment demonstration you requested is prepared and may be initiated at your convenience.
So
Simply select Start to begin the demonstration. You may skip the demonstration by selecting Skip Tutorial.
So we get these talking portraits here. There can have 4 of them, some text there, and our objectives down here. She will actually keep prompting me.
Whenever you feel you are ready, you may select Start.
Exactly. It actually runs through and there's a few Easter eggs. So I'm going to start the mission very shortly, but I will, at the end of the video, I'll stick like the full tutorial thing. So 3 supply depots, refinery, 100 SP and gas.
Anytime is fine.
I guess anytime is fine, so let's go. So we start off. I'm just going to let you listen to that music for a second, which is great. They start off with a splash screen for tips. This is one of those games where once the game is loaded, it just dumps you straight in it. So I find it quite nice to have the little screen just so I clicked OK when I'm actually ready to start playing. Okay, so
the T-280 SCV is the cornerstone of our hostile environment construction and resource gathering operations.
Roger that.
In order to build a thriving colony, numerous SCVs are necessary. You can build additional SCVs at a command center,
which we're building from this command center right now.
In order to equip additional personnel, you must have enough supply depots to support them. You can use SCVs to build additional supply depots.
So I try and use hotkeys as much as possible. What I did there, B to start building, S was a supply depot hotkey. This is a custom, I say custom, this is one of the exclusive skins they revealed when you pre-ordered the game, or they gave you when you pre-ordered the game. Let me know in the comments if you'd rather I left the pre-order skin on the command centers or if you want me to take it off. I don't mind either way.
Job's finished. I read you.
And I can do that, although it's not giving me much of a transmission at the moment. So generally you want to kind of keep building SCVs. Generally you also want your command center to be 3 blocks away from the mineral patches, because that's the shortest mining distance. I'm not going to spend time moving this now because I don't need to, but on later missions, you may see me move the command center around just to get a little more efficiency in mining. You can only have one SCV. You can only have one SCV mining a block at a time. But while one is mining, the other can be returning minerals. So you want more than one on a block at a time, basically. Yeah, S is your hotkey for that. We've got our Terran Marines here. Zoom in on these. Now, one nice little thing. This game was before 3D modelling for units at the very least. Obviously, the cutscenes are 3D. Or a lot of the cutscenes are 3D. You can see that, actually, if I slightly move him, you can see his gun hand switches. That's because in the original game, and in the new sprites even, and a lot of old RTS games that use sprites had this, when you have the unit animated, you need a frame for every single physical orientation he could stand in. So it was about 16 to 32 in a lot of these old games. So instead of storing 16 frames or 32 frames of animation, you store half as many as you need and you mirror them. Which is why at Age of Empires, if you ever look at the hoplites or the swordsmen, you'll notice their sword and shield will spontaneously flip sides, and these will spontaneously flip their gun arm. It's a little less noticeable on the Marines. It's a lot more noticeable on the medics in the expansion. I'm gonna pop down a... they will give us a movement tutorial very shortly if I move them out of the base. I'm gonna pop down a Vespene Geyser. Refinery on the Vespene Geyser. Vespene is your secondary resource. It is your high-tech resource. It allows you to build things like your siege tanks, your advanced research buildings. It allows you to carry out research. You're not going to get very far in the game without any Vespene gas. While that's doing, I'm going to build another SCV. I will sometimes click on the command card instead of using the hotkey. Also, sometimes while I'm talking, I gesticulate, so I actually take my hand off the keyboard, which is not pro play.
The refinery processes raw Vespene gas, converting it into a form which your SCVs can gather.
Thank you, advisor. Once we get 100, game over, or mission complete. But I'll try and use my hotkeys as much as possible. Generally you want 3 in Vespene. Sometimes if it's a very long trip you might want 4. Right, let's move these Marines and see what they say to us.
Speak freely, sir. I'm not sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to send us into hostile territory and you want us to defend ourselves, then use the attack command. But if you want us to ignore enemy fire and go exactly to the spot you targeted, then use the move command. Now, which will it be?
So that's a huge thing in StarCraft. I've taken those out of mining just so I can finish saying what I'm saying here. If you move these guys and just right click, well, if you left click they won't do anything. If you right click, they will just walk to where you told them and they will ignore anything until they stop and fire. And units in StarCraft can generally have to stop to fire. If I want them to attack move, press A, do that, they will stop and fire on the way. Now their reaction times are not perfect, they take like almost a few frames to register that something is actually happening. Apparently if you press patrol they're a little bit quicker to attack. But generally you should be attack moving, especially if you're going into territory blind. Right, let's put these 3 SCVs back in Vespene and finish off the mission. Because I'm not desperate to kill every Zergling. We don't know they're Zerg yet, technically. We technically don't know they're Zerg yet. There we go.
There will now be a fully catered reception at Marsara Base.
How wonderful. Brilliant, and then we get the illustrious victory screen. There we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump straight into the next mission. So yeah, we can see Jormungand Brood. A lot of the broods are named after like mythological creatures. So you've got, you know, Balrog Brood and Leviathan, a variety of others. Jormungand is one of them. And they're currently unidentified creatures. You can see my blisteringly high APM there. Right, okay, so going into the Wasteland now. I'll do this mission and then I'll break for the next video.
Adjutant online. Good evening, Magistrate. I'll fill you in on what's been happening. Confederate traffic has increased substantially within the system due to the recent Protoss destruction of the Chow Sara colony. The Confederates have tightened security on all outlying systems, and it's likely that this colony will be locked down as well. An encrypted Confederate transmission came for you while you were at dinner. Replaying transmission.
Greetings, Magistrate. I'm General Edmund Duke of the Confederate Security Forces Alpha Squadron. The Confederacy has quarantined this entire planet, and we'll proceed with a lockdown within 48 hours. You're to relocate your core colonists to the outlying wastelands. Now, I know there won't be any problems with these new arrangements.
Transmission ended. I have contacted the local marshal, James Rayner. Rayner has agreed to meet your personnel en route and escort them to the new Wasteland site.
There we go. So we need to find Rayner, build a barracks, and train 10 Marines. If you really want to, you can build 2 barracks, which I might do, just because keep myself busy. Here we go. So there's an introduction to drag selection, which most people will do instinctively if they've ever played an RTS. Alternatively, you can control click. You can even drag select and control click, which is very useful for spellcasters. Because spellcasters can only use their spells if they're in an identical control group. You know, control group of the same type. So that's something to watch out for. It's a quirk of the older RTS. We can have a look around there, but there's nothing to see. But what we have got down here is Jim Rayner.
Howdy, boys. I'm Jim Rayner, marshal of these parts.
Okay, there we go. He is in a teal vulture. Generally, hero units in StarCraft get the teal colour. In the campaign, at least, we can zoom in. We can see him in his jet bike, or vulture jet bike. He can lay spider mines. We'll see them more probably later in the game. I won't use them much now. And frag grenade. In fact, can I lay a spider mine and get the Zergling to run into it? Spider mine.
Right on.
Probably. Mistakes may have been made. Yeah, okay. It got killed.
This should be good.
But I can actually kind of give him the runaround by doing...
This should be good.
So, generally you want to kite your melee units. I have not been doing a great job of it, but that was because I decided to lay a spider mine way too close. That group you can just attack move through quite casually though. So, let's get these SCVs on mining.
I read you.
Can probably build another one
Not enough minerals.
in a second. We can probably build another one while we're at it.
Yes, sir.
So every trip they return 8 minerals, and they will return 8 Vespene gas, which is slightly more than you'd be used to if you played StarCraft 2. Believe it or not, there will be people who will be coming to this game having played StarCraft 2 but not having played StarCraft, which is weird to me. We probably don't need to build a supply depot actually, because we should have enough. We only need 5 more Marines, so if I build 1 more SCV, because I can only have so many on this mineral patch anyway. Actually, I can get away with 1 more SCV. So let's throw down this barrack. So B for barracks. There we go. Sadly, you can't shift click to rally him to minerals after he's finished building. You have to wait for him to finish building. So the Terran mechanic is that they have, obviously, your workers. To build a building, the worker has to go and sit on the building and construct the entire thing. You don't know if you can even pause construction in this one. So when you build something, you are committing to building it with that worker. You can kill the worker off to slow the process of building down. I'm actually going to have 2 going at the same time, because why not? Because I'll stockpile enough minerals that I can actually start building Marines from both of them. And it's a good habit to get into, to have multiple unit buildings where you can. Usually
Infantry units such as Marines can be trained at this facility.
on average you want about 2 SCVs per mineral patch, depending on, again, on distance. in the campaign. The mineral patches are not sort of laid out optimally, probably because
You want a piece of me,
when the
boy?
game was developed, they weren't expecting it to become a major esport. You know, multiplayer was one of those things you had in your game, but you probably didn't make games in this time based around it. I think M's a hotkey for Marine, which is different to StarCraft 2, where it's A, which is easier to reach on the keyboard, which is why it's A rather than M, I assume. You probably can set up grid keys, actually. I've never used them before. I can see why they would be more efficient. Yeah, there we go. Just this last Marine to finish. Now you see if you click here,
Additional supply depots
you would need more supply
required.
depots. So one thing that's important in the game is to try and avoid supply blocking yourself. So ideally, if I wasn't going to end the mission now, I'd have built more supply depots. But here we go. There we go. 2 very, very, very straightforward missions. These are literally, here's the basic mechanics of the game. Here's how you play it. So we'll see our victory screen, see what score we got. Excellent. Okay, so you can actually see the breakdown. So kill 3 units. They killed. Oh, then that spider mine must have counted as a kill for them. So constructed, we built 4 structures, resources. You get a score for all those various things. So I guess each building is worth 150 points. And each kill, I don't know, but yeah, we could have actually gone hunting for a lot more Zerglings and that would have increased our score, but who cares. Right, okay, thank you for joining me for this. I will be what I will do is I'll put a very short title card, and I will put the timestamp. I will put the that sort of Easter egg, the whole briefing for the boot camp. But if you want to skip that and just move on to the next video, you're more than welcome to. So there'll be a little title card saying when this video, this main section of the video has finished, and then you can move on and view the next one, or you can stay and watch the entire sort of briefing menu, boot camp briefing, Easter eggs. Leave it up to you. But either way, hopefully, I will see you next time. Okay, thanks and goodbye.
Welcome to Marsara, Magistrate. The equipment demonstration you requested is prepared and may be initiated at your convenience. Simply select Start to begin the demonstration. You may skip the demonstration by selecting Skip Tutorial. Whenever you feel you are ready, you may select Start. Any time is fine. You're okay to go. Magistrate, are you all right?